With the launch of the Gotrek and Felix DLC, there are some questions that have been cropping up around the community. How exactly do you get access to this legendary duo started by the author William King? Well, in this video here today, I'm going to go through how you get access to Gotrek and Felix in your Empire campaigns, as well as just a general breakdown of their stats, how they play in multiplayer and in also single player, and just kind of an overall overview and breakdown. Well, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this real quickly. I want to make sure that anyone that's tuning in can just find out quickly how to get access to them. It's not that hard, but it's also a little convoluted. They don't give you a lot of information on how to do this. So I guess step one is go and buy a white dwarf if you're watching this video before October 20th. That's when it will, where Gotrek and Felix will be free on Total War Access. You can find a link to the white dwarf in my description below. But after you have turned that code in to Steam and activated Gotrek and Felix, the first thing you need to do is build a tap room. That's it. This will not work for existing campaigns. So if you currently are running through your Mortal Empires Empire Divided campaign, you have to unfortunately restart. Maybe this can be modded in somehow. I've tried this on my Balthazar Gelt campaign to no avail. But once you build the tap room, you will immediately get served a pop-up that mentions that Gotrek and Felix are now at large, and they are kind of touring, you know, a little band tour through the Empire lands, and you have a chance to recruit them. And then they will immediately appear on your map just like this, with this cool little blue circle around them. And really, that's all it takes to get them on the map. And then once they're on the map, you have to take a character. We'll take Emperor Karl Franz himself, and you simply just right-click on them, and we'll take a look at the pop-up as well as the cool little dialogue box that that appears after this.
Pick up the pace.
You have managed to meet the legendary duo Gotrek and Felix while they travel through the province. Over some tankards of ale, Gotrek reveals to you that he is seeking the most heroic death possible. Felix suggests that he and Gotrek join your cause. The Slayer seems unenthusiastic at first, but is soon persuaded that you can help him achieve the great doom he craves. Felix tells you privately that really he welcomes the safety and numbers our forces will provide. And you just simply click hire them. You'll see this little icon here, and it will tell you that you only have access to them for 20 turns.
How should I put this? An adventure-filled nightmare. Or a nightmarish adventure. Let's get some alieners after that ruckus.
So there you have it. That's how you get access to them, pretty quick and easy. Following your acceptance of their offer to fight with you, Gotrek and Felix are now yours to command. You have command of them for a full 20 turns. Gotrek himself is a legendary lord, followed by Felix Jaeger being a legendary hero in his accompaniment. And we will go through their stats in when we talk about the other portion of this video, but you'll have them right here. You can recruit stuff again just as you would normally, and you'll have this counter, or sorry, this timer in the upper right corner that tells you, you know, how many more turns you have remaining of Gotrek and Felix's company. After those 20 turns, they will vanish. So you do have to be mindful of that. They'll leave, and you can appoint a new general to this army just as if the general was killed. So you don't have to worry about losing the army in the event that they do vanish. Now, the time or the intervals in which they reappear seems to be random. I've asked a number of creators, and I have myself not experienced a set interval in which Gotrek and Felix will return to your campaign. But as long as you have gotten this initial event done with, they will reappear. I've heard that there's a notion that after a certain amount of turns, if you build another tap room, it will force them to come back. So I would experiment with that. Again, until we get like a set saying from Creative Assembly on what would cause them to reappear after this notion, I have yet to find a specific pattern that would clue us into that. But then again, you do get the mighty Gotrek and Felix. Now, it is worth noting that they do have items that they don't appear to have on the campaign. So in the second part of this video, we're going to dive into some custom battles. We'll see how Gotrek and Felix stack up to lords such as the mighty Kolek Sun Eater and some other lords, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how powerful this duo is. So let's transition into some custom battles. All right, so we're here at the custom battle screen. I've got a Beastman army. Nope. I just want Morgur here, just simply Morgur Shadowgrave. I want to play Felix himself against Morgur. So let's take a look at Felix's abilities here. He's got Foe Seeker, Deadly Onslaught, and then he's got the special ability Helping Hand. Now this will only work on lords or heroes, and it confers a 44% damage resistance as well as 44 buff to melee attack, and that lasts for 22 seconds. It's quite gnarly. In addition to that, he also has Blood Oath, which allows him to replenish hit points of anyone around, or I'm sorry, any lord or hero in a 30-meter radius around him. This is quite awesome. It's a very fast regeneration. It's about 4 hit points every tick, and honestly, that tick is very rapid. We'll take a look at it when we jump into our Kolak Sun Eater fight. But I wanted to showcase Felix's abilities here because he also gets an item. And this item, like I said, is not present in campaign. Worth noting, I suppose. Karagul, his famous weapon here. Felix Jaeger recovered the rune sword Karagul, a blade with a dragon hilt from a fallen knight of the fiery heart deep within Karak 8 Peaks. Now this gives him, I'm going to click it right here, access to plus 44 melee attack and plus 32 bonus versus infantry for 28 seconds and imbues him with fire damage. And you can really see that he already has a pretty good amount of AP bonus versus infantry and weapon strength for a legendary hero. And at 1478, he's a pretty affordable little option here for recovering the health of any of your heroes, keeping him in line with those things, as well as to give them very good defensive buffs from Helping Hand. I mean, that's a pretty gnarly buff. 44% damage resistance and 44 melee attack. That can work very, very well with Karl Franz. But it can also work very well with Gotrek himself. So taking a look at Gotrek's stat line, I mean, he is a legendary, a well-renowned Slayer, so he has a stat line and abilities that, again, mirror a Slayer. What should make this so exciting to you guys, if you are very familiar with the Dwarf Army list, and I have done that video if you want to look it up to take a look at exactly what I'm about to talk about, are both the Dragon and Demon Slayer variants of the Slayer. Those were both the hero and lord choices for Slayers in the Dwarf Army book. And this kind of cracks that door open to the possibility of even getting Dragon or Demon Slayers added to the Dwarf line. I mean, take a look at the stat line of this guy. He's got 70 melee attack. That is, of course, magic damage. He gets no armor because, again, he's a Slayer. He's just got his tits out and orange beard. But in addition to that, you know, he's got his lovely little missile resistance that all heroes get. He gets 25% magic resistance, charge defense versus large, which is nice, encouraged to be expected, unbreakable. Then this ability here, Heroic Fortitude. So he will actually get a little surge of health if he drops below 10% health. So kind of a nice little ability here. Despite involving himself in the most dangerous situations imaginable and against the Slayer's suicidally brave will, Gotrek is made of sterner stuff even than others of his kind and can survive any hand-to-hand encounter. This will give you quite a bit of health here. Again, you can see here miscast chance 50%. So you do have a 50-50 chance of this actually triggering. You also get death blows that you get when you have any other type of Slayer unit. This will happen when his health drops below 20%. You'll get a 15% bonus to both AP and weapon damage, Foe Seeker, and Deadly Onslaught. The nice thing here about Deadly Onslaught is, take a look at this. 36% charge bonus. He has 65 charge bonus already. That's pretty damn substantial. I mean, it's surprising to see this on a dwarf, no less than, especially on Gotrek himself, but he gets a pretty gnarly charge bonus, and you want to make sure you get that charge off with the Mighty Slayer. In addition, you get Gotrek's Doom. Now, this mirrors very much Felix Jaeger's ability to give 44 melee attack and 44% damage resistance, but this is a self-only buff. Gotrek himself can only trigger it for himself, by which the Dwarf Slayer and his Mannish Chronicler are protected from magical harm. Forcing the foe into single combat, they have little chance of surviving. So, if you use these two in conjunction, you'll see what decimating effect that they can really dish out. Now lastly, you do have the Rune Axe of Gotrek. Gotrek's signature weapon is a battle axe imbued with powerful rune magic, recovered from the corpse of King Thongrim's Firebeard's son during the Dwarf Slayer's first excursion into the northern Chaos Wastes. You get some pretty gnarly effects with this, plus 40% AP, dampen happening, and 22% magic resistance penalty, so you do have to watch out for those types of things. But at the same time, I think these two are so awesome to be added to the game. I will say, before we jump into this quick battle, if you don't play Warhammer, the White Dwarf might not be worth it for you. You do have to wait until October 20th to get this for free. Otherwise, you have to go buy an $8 to $10 White Dwarf. At the same time, though, if you really are hankering to jump into this campaign and you've already burned through your Hunter and the Beast DLC from both Marcus Wolfheart, Nakai, and Gorok, then go get that White Dwarf and play these guys, because they're pretty badass. And I think that they're going to be very interesting in certain competitive matchups. So let's see how these guys stack up against the mighty Morghur Shadowgrave. So here he is, the mighty Felix Jaeger in battle himself. Nice little resplendent look he has about him. Let's see how this fight kind of goes underway. Just on a one-on-one versus Morghur Shadowgrave. We do have Felix in the back there and an Empire Captain, but they're not going to be used in this fight. I just want to focus on these two right now. So getting a little bit closer to this engagement underway. We're going to pop our speed. We're going to pop our charge bonus pretty soon. Right about now. Going to get closer and closer. So keep in mind, Helping Hand, you cannot use on yourself. You can only use it on other targets. But we're going to go ahead and hit Karagul as well here. And kind of just watch these guys fight. You know, Morghur Shadowgrave is a very strong lord. He is probably the best and most competitive pick when it comes to the Beastmen. So really taking this guy against a legendary hero is quite remarkable here. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward this. Keep in mind, you know, these guys aren't supported by infantry of any sort. So this would, of course, help out this fight. Having other supporting magic in this. This is just really a fight within a vacuum. So you can really see here that some of these things are going to be a certain factor. Now, I chose to do this this test because Dav Plays was saying, dude, Felix can one-on-one Morghur. And this makes Felix a very strong lord to take into Beastman matchup, especially only at 1,400 points when it comes to him being fully kitted out. You can have this guy as basically an assassin for Morghur because, I'll be honest, even though Karl Franz does do a lot of damage and Boris Todbringer is very durable, I do find that they struggle to kill Morghur Shadowgrave just because of the circumstances of an engagement. Having someone like a Karl Franz and a Felix at the same time could be a bit of a double threat because Felix will heal Karl Franz if he does jump into a fight because of his, where is it? There it goes. Blood Oath ability. In addition to that, he will help out with just completely bursting down the mighty Morghur Shadowgrave there. So that's just an example of Felix one-on-one versus Morghur. And again, he is a cheaper of the two heroes, taking a look at 1478 for him. If I were to not take his weapon and not take his Helping Hand ability, which I don't think I would not want to do that, he still is 1,000 points. That's pretty cheap to just get a pretty good little tanky, a pretty good little bursty assassin in here if you're up against Beastmen or specific lords that are hero or that are infantry based and forced to stay as infantry just to kind of help burst them down quickly. Let's edit this a little bit. Let's put these items right back on. And I'll be honest, when I did this test initially, I did not use the items. And let's clear this out, and let's do Kolek Suneater. And we're going to do Kolek Suneater. We'll take Soul Crusher here. We'll kit him out all the way. And we'll take them, both Felix and Gotrek, against Kolek Suneater in this battle to come. Here we have the two famous duos side by side. We're going to go ahead and have them attack Kolek. It is worth noting, of course, Felix has 34 speed to Gotrek's 42. So the little guy's got some wheels on him. You can already see him getting ahead. We're going to go ahead and pop his speed buff. And we definitely want that charge bonus buff on him as well. Going right for Kolek. We're going to do the same thing here for Felix. So you can see that they're already getting into it. He's taking a lot of damage already. So we're going to pop this Gotrek's Doom. And he will start regenerating health. Take a look at this. By 4, by 4, by 4, by 4. It's a very quick recovery of health from the benefit that he's getting with Blood Oath. I mean, he's getting a lot of health back quickly. We also can do this to get a little bit of an increase to our AP damage. We're going to do this as well to help out with some additional melee attack. The bonus versus infantry is not going to be huge here, but nonetheless. Now, we can see that Gotrek's really getting low. So, boom, we're going to hit him with a little bit of that Helping Hand. That's going to help out mitigate a lot of his the amount of damage he's taking. Again, just keep in mind, guys, this is within a vacuum. He's Kolek is on his own 2v1 right now, so he will probably break leadership-wise well before he actually loses this fight from health. But you can see that in this test, Gotrek went a lot lower than he did in my test prior to this, and I didn't even use the items. The first test I had done with this, Gotrek fell to about 75-60%. So you can really see how strong this duo can be together or apart. It just depends on what you're up against, what the matchup is, and if you're using them in campaign, they can really just do a crap ton of damage to any Empire force that you deal with. In the early portions of the Mortal Empires campaign, if you're into the portion of the campaign when you're dealing with Chaos, they can be used to great advantage there because they both have AP what's his name? Felix has the anti-infantry, but really, I think that these two are a really fun addition to Total War Warhammer. And it's not an addition I ever saw coming. I think for a lot of people, everyone wanted to see this, but it felt kind of oddly placed how they really incorporate this into the game. And I think they did a good job. Making them both legendary heroes, again, continues to creak that door open to the prospect of further legendary heroes within the rosters for all of these, well, rosters. When you take a look at Shadowblade or Deathmaster Snikch, these are not characters that should be leading armies. These are characters who should be master assassins that come in through maybe a rite or some sort of specific occurrence within the campaign. And I think Creative Assembly has done a really good job of adding these characters in to a real cool fan service and fanfare, but at the same time at a very approachable way to enter the campaign. So hopefully this video helps you out in getting an idea of how to get Gotrek and Felix added to your campaign. Like I said, it's not very straightforward, so I wanted a real quick video. That's why the first like 2-3 minutes of this are only dedicated to that, and the rest is kind of like looking at how good these guys can be in tandem or on their own. But I really encourage you guys to see how these guys can be used in some of your competitive matchups, in some of your campaigns that you have in mind. Again, just to kind of rehash here too, if you play Warhammer, go get that White Dwarf. I'm going to get it because I'm stoked to hear about the new Dark Angels Primaris. If you don't play Warhammer and you only play Total War, I think you've got enough time to wait one more month for the Total War access. But again, at the same time, if you're just itching to try these two, go get the White Dwarf. You can pre-order it below in the link, like I said in the description, or you can head on over to your local game store or to an actual Games Workshop to pick up a White Dwarf. It'll just be a little card, just very similar to the Grombrindal DLC back in Warhammer 1. But guys, as always, thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you enjoy the Gotrek and Felix DLC when it launches here in the next day or two. But as always, have a good one and take care.